Hi, welcome back to my views and news. Continuing our coverage of Ethiopian and Eritrean military deployments, new deployments. I have an exclusive piece of information for you, which I have received through some sources from the ground, from Eritrean side of Eritrea, Ethiopia border. It seems that Eritrean military is making deployments of its forces to a front where there is no Ethiopian National Defense Force. Where is ENDF? By the way, one thing before I share details, it seems that Eritrean military is moving much faster than Ethiopian National Defense Force. PM Abiy just delivered a speech. Immediately after that, we saw mobilization of Eritrean military, ENDF trying to catch up, but it seems that EDF is accelerating deployment of its military in defensive positions, I would say. Now, what is the name of this front where Eritrea has deployed hundreds of soldiers? Within the past 2 days, we got this information yesterday, then verified. So now it means that around 48 hours ago, people confirmed new deployments in that area. In previous videos, within the last 3 to 4 days, we talked about Bore front. If you remember, that Eritrea had beefed up its military presence to Bore front. Secondly, we talked about a front to the north of Bore, 20-30 kilometers away from Bore, mountainous area where EDF had made deployments. Third front, again on a far Eritrea border. Yes, some EDF deployments on Tigray-Eritrea border too, but we're talking about a far Eritrea border, a far Ethiopia, Eritrea border. The third front where we have been able to confirm deployment of EDF is Bada. Bada is on Eritrea, Ethiopia border. Now, if you have been watching me regularly since the start of Tigray war, I did several videos on EDF's military presence in the far region of Ethiopia in the past 2 years. We did lots of videos. EDF back then had ENDF support, some local supported as well, a far population. And EDF back then was seen in Birale. Birale was a very active front. And we know that Tigray fighters back then tried to reach Birale, but EDF and Afars, they managed to push EDF. They never allowed EDF to capture Birale or to go past Birale. If I remember correctly, though sometimes I forget things because I've done thousands of videos so far. Bada. Is this Bada front linked to Birale? That through this move, Eritrean government wants to put pressure both on Afar, Ethiopia and Tigray, Ethiopia. By the way, Bada front is hundreds of miles away from Assab, from Bore. So it's not linked to, it's not that EDF is making deployments to cut off ENDF to go behind ENDF on Bore front. No, this is a very separate front, far away from Bore front. So what is the purpose of deployment of EDF on this front? This front is in the Danakil Depression, the salt plains, Eritrean, Ethiopian, where there are lakes, mountains, streams, hot streams, desert, etc. It's a very difficult terrain, by the way. There are no roads here, no functioning roads here. Tegarai to Berale is connected. You can easily move from Tegarai to Berale. But from Berale onwards towards Bada, there are no paved functional roads. There are some mountain routes which are used by locals. Locals are very familiar, local affairs with those routes. Eritrean military is familiar as well. Because as I said, Eritrean military has been operating in the far region of Ethiopia. It operated last year in 2021-22 when Eritrea tried to move towards Mekelle through Afar. So Eritrean military very familiar with this terrain, though movement from Bada to Birale, large scale military mobilization, it is very difficult. I won't say impossible, but maybe Eritrean military has this capability. What is the purpose of this deployment on Bada front? I'm trying to figure out, by the way. To the west of Bada are strategic mountains, high mountains. Deployment, firstly, is for the control of the strategic places. Interestingly, there is no Ethiopian National Defense Force. I confirmed a few minutes ago that to the west of Bada, there is no Ethiopian National Defense Force deployment. So one strategic area on Eritrea-Ethiopia border is now under the control of EDF, you can say. No, there is no ENDF there. Local affairs are there, local affair population, but can local affairs withstand an offensive by Eritrean Defense Force? So, Eritrean military is taking the lead. It is taking it out of those strategic places. There is no ENDF, firstly. Secondly, this deployment is defensive. That if Tigray fighters, Afar fighters, ENDF, they join hands and they move towards Bada through the salt plains, EDF should be ready. It could be defensive deployment as well. Thirdly, I think this deployment is a message for local affairs. Eritrean government wants to ensure that no local affairs are involved in this conflict on both sides of the border. Because affairs, some affairs organizations have been campaigning for years. They say affairs in Eritrea are marginalized. Their assets stolen by Eritrean government. They have no rights over their assets. No rights over a support. Eritrea sold the port to UAE. Afar were not consulted. So, Eritrean diaspora Afar elements have been trying to instigate local affairs, local Afar elders, but Eritrean government never allowed them to be powerful. So this deployment is a message to local Afar population too. That Afar population should not think of rebelling. Rebellion in Red Sea, Southern Red Sea, other zones of the Afar region is a concern, by the way, for Eritrean government. Eritrean government wants to ensure that local Afar population is under strict control. That is why we're seeing mobilization of Eritrean military across Afar region on different fronts. Dual purpose, message for ENDF, message for local affairs. Now, as I said earlier, EDF is marching faster than Ethiopian National Defense Force. PMRB just issued a statement. He never declared war. There was no mobilization of ENDF before that statement of PMRB. If I remember correctly, there was no ENDF movement towards the Eritrean border. That was just a political position taken by Ethiopian government that Ethiopia has access, has natural rights to gain access to the sea. And he mentioned coming generations too. He said, if we cannot uh, gain access to the Red Sea, coming generations will fight for it. So it means he was not militarily prepared to start a war soon, when he delivered the speech. That is why I said no war is coming. Because ENDF was not seen making movements on the ground. And I concluded back then, if you remember, that no war imminent. But Eritrean government took the threat, the warning from Ethiopian PMRB very seriously. And since the day PMRB delivered a speech, we have been seeing large scale mobilization of Eritrean military on multiple fronts. Now, ENF is trying to catch up with the pace of EDF. Tigray still don't know. We don't know what is going to happen. Tigray not aligning with Eritrea, but what will it do? Will it align with Abiy? Will it stay neutral? What will it do? No one clearly knows. But Eritrea has made its intentions very clear. I'll try to do a video tomorrow about all new deployments of Eritrean military on different fronts. And I would salute the people who, in very difficult circumstances, are giving us verified information, because it is always difficult to get information from Eritrea. The country is always under a communication blackout. Nothing comes out of Eritrea. But since mobilization is in border areas, that is why it is easy for us to get information from the areas. But since there are no roads in some areas, no mobile network, that is why sometimes the information arrives a little late, maybe 24 hours late, 24 hours delay, or 48-hour delay. But overall, the information is verified. And I would say that purpose of sharing this information with you is that people should be aware that this is the time to stop a war, which is not imminent, but the way the two sides are ramping up their rhetoric, this face-off could turn into armed escalation. So restraint is needed. Talks, dialogue, that is the way forward. But on the ground, again, I would say EDF is marching, advancing faster than ENDF. Thanks for watching.